unusual results over the 2020 Olympics over in Tokyo in the men's football, of course, as we see upsets for France, Spain and Argentina, of course, failing to get off to a win. But what about the rest of the chasing pack? Who's in the mix of the gold medal? Who's going to be going home? We'll take a little look. That's right, folks, back once again with another prediction video. Today we're taking a look at match number 2 out in the 2020 Olympics out in Tokyo, and we'll get to that in just one second. If you're new, where you been, boys? Smash your subscribe and get your bang up to date with all things Olympics related, football, of course, Blackburn Rovers, of course, and world football. We've got it all here under one brewski. Goodness gracious me. That's right, boys and girls, of course. Match number 2 coming at you, of course, hoping to bounce back with the likes of Argentina, the likes of Germany, the likes of even Spain, of course, failed to get off to a flyer at the minute. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Of course, big shout out to the VIPs. They are the patrons. And of course, if you're interested in support the channel in a way, check out the links down below, patreon.com/overseas. But anyway, let's get the deep end. And of course, games are coming thick and fast over the Olympics, all 8 of them. Of course, kicking off on the 25th Japanese time, of course. We'll get into that in a minute. Let's take a look back at, of course, my early door picks. And of course, a quick look at the old leaderboard as we, of course, take a look at your picks then, shall we? Here we go. Recap of those first round of matches coming at you right here, right now. Let's take a look at it then, shall we? Of course, recap, of course, then first round of matches, which did take place just the other day. Of course, yeah, kicking all off, it was over in Group A, Mexico against France. I went with the 2-2 win myself for France, but guess what? The French never turned up. 4-1 win in the end. Comfortable win for Mexico to get himself off to a flyer. In the second match out of the group, of course, Japan, the hosts, of course, taking on South Africa. I won the 1-0 and I got that one bang on the nose. That's right. So fair dues to Japan, get themselves in the mix, of course, to get through the knockout stages after day 1, match 1. Into Group B, of course, it was New Zealand up against South Korea. 2-0 win I went with South Korea, but guess what? Went the other way. That's right. Six-fingered banjo playing weirdo on the score sheet. That's right, Chris Wood from Burnley. Joining them, of course, Honduras took on Romania, ended up 1-1 in my eyes. Actually went with a 1-0 win for Romania in the end to get themselves also off to a flyer. Of course, that's Groups A and B. Let's take a look at Groups C and D in just a second. As you can see, I just myself 1 out of those 4 predictions, which is not great. And you'll see in a minute, of course, it is a familiar pattern with some of you guys out there with your own predictions. In Group C, Spain, what's gone on with them? I anticipate, and I still anticipate, a better performance than day 1, match 1. 4-0 win, I expected them from over Egypt, but of course, they could only muster a 0-0 draw. That's right, goodness gracious me. Same group, of course, Argentina. Again, what happened with them? 3-0, a prediction when they were over Australia, but they lost 2-0. Of course, the Socceroos going on with a fantastic result. Kicking on further into Group D here, Ivory Coast against Saudi Arabia. 2-0 win was my pick. 2-1 win was the final score in the end, so not too shabby on that one. Of course, Brazil, one of the performances of the day. 4-2 demolition of Germany. That's right, I actually went with the 2-2 draw myself, so not great on that one. So as you can see, let's take a little look at the pickaroos there. Just one for me. The tables look just like this at the moment. Of course, Mexico going through, Japan already there as well at the minute. Of course, all could change after match number 2. Into Group B, New Zealand, Romania got the upper hand so far. South Korea and Honduras could be going home. Into Group C, Australia got themselves 1 peg up. Of course, Spain and Egypt not too far away either, but of course, you would fancy Spain and Argentina step it up a little bit later on. Of course, Brazil and Ivory Coast at the moment, 1 win from 1. That's my picks. I got my 2 out of 8, which is pretty shitty, but of course, the leaderboard at the moment shows Darlow, Fan Sports, Elgin Cow, Hans Wilson, Omar Escobedo, aka the Mexican Sniper. And guess what? This is your names from now on in. No mucking about. Make sure you put it in like this when you go for match number 2. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they have 4 out of 8, which is, of course, a respectable score, considering some of those shock results as well. I'm in the mix, like Gaming Charlie, Shepherd, of course, Winky as well, Iman Hussein. I do bet the rate. We've all got 2, which is pretty poo. Of course, if you want to take part in match number 2 predictions, of course, which will add on for match number 1, you're going to go right here. Of course, the URL is Cutley/Tokyo 2A, and this is the QR code if you're very, very tech savvy, just like this guy right here. But anyway, we're going to jump right in the deep end, take a look at the next round of matches, then kick it all off with Group A. It will be France up against South Africa. Of course, France getting themselves off to a bit of a shitter. So did South Africa. Of course, both of those two sides losing their first match heading into this. France getting the one and only goal, though. Giganet Beck was the scorer. He is, of course, the veteran player scoring from the penalty spot as he tried to make something of it for France. As for South Africa, yet to get off the mark as well. Played one, lost one as well. But they've all got to do on this one. Quick look at the bookies odds on this one. We have 6-1 on is your French on this one. 12-1 is your South Africa, and 30-2 is your draw. Quick look at the odds for the title. Of course, France currently sits all the way down in a 10-1 at the moment. South Africa are actually coming at you at 350-1 long shots at the moment. I do anticipate a bit of a response on this one from France. Going to go with a 2-0 win in the end to take 3 points, and again give themselves a little bit of life in the older group stages. It's the same group. It will be Japan up against Mexico. That is right. Of course, both sides get themselves off to winners. Mexico very, very flamboyantly so with a 4-1 win over France. Goals from Vega, Cordova, Antuna and Aguirre as well, with Kubo getting the goal for Japan as well in their opening day wins. Of course, no one in attendance for both of these two matches. Of course, quickly the bookies odds on this one. We will see. Japan are 90-10 for the victory, 11-5 is your draw, 29-20 is your Mexico on this one. Of course, with that win, the boys boosted their hopes. Of course, Japan are third favourites for the medal. They're 7-1 at the moment. Mexico are sixth favourites, 12-1 to get the gold in the end. Difficult one there. Going to go with a cheeky 1-1 draw in the end. That's right. So point split right down the middle. Everyone's happy with that. Kicking off further into Group B, it will be New Zealand up against Honduras. Let's get into this one now, shall we? Of course, New Zealand surprise package so far with a nice win against South Korea with six-finger dingo playing, banjo playing weirdo Wood on the score sheet, of course, for a Burnley player. Of course, as for Honduras, they opened up their account with a 1-0 loss against Romania as well. So New Zealand coming into looking good. In fact, top of the group at the moment with with Honduras coming at you bottom of the pops as right now. And of course, a win for Honduras can turn it around on this one. Quick look at the bookies odds on this one. Then show 2-1 is your New Zealand, 7-5 is your Honduras, and 11-5 is the draw. As for the odds for the title, New Zealand now shoot up to 100-1 to go all the way. Honduras are 150-1, of course, on this one. For me, though, out of Group B, going to go with a 2-0 win for New Zealand. That's right. I put them in prime position and maybe even already qualify for the knockout stages on this one. Join them same group. It will be Romania up against South Korea. That's right. Of course, Romania over up their account with that loss. In fact, sorry, with that win. Take that all back with it over Honduras, of course, last round. Olivia with a big fat OG giving Romania the win. As for South Korea, of course, the opening day loss against New Zealand puts them in a bit of a wobble as well. Quick look at the bookies odds on this one then, shall we? We've got, who would you fancy? Fancy probably South Korea on this one. As I see it, 30-5 for Romania, even Stevens for South Korea, of course 5-2 for the draw. Bookies odds on this one to go all the way. South Korea coming at you at 20-1. As for Romania, they're actually at 50-1 as well, so they're still the underdogs on this. So for me, I'm going to go with on this a 1-0 win for South Korea. Bounce back ability, of course, maybe put them into the mix for the next round. Let's take a look at the back end of this whole setup here into Group C. It'll be a surprise package. Egypt, of course, with the opening day draw against Spain. Can they follow up against Argentina, of course? 0-0 so far for them. As for Argentina, suffered a shock loss to Australia, of course, on day one, match one. Of course, can they bounce back? Of course, they need to. If they don't win here, they could be going already out, and that would be one of the major shocks of this Olympic football tournament as well. The bookies odds on this one, we have Egypt 92 for the victory, 5-3 on is your Argentina, and 14-5 is your draw on this one. Argentina are still ranked at 5th favourites for the bling. That's 12-1. As for Egypt, they're coming at you 150-1 on this one. That's to, of course, win it outright. For me, I've gone with a surprise. I'm going with Egypt. I've heard a bit of rumblings in the chat and the comments to say that Egypt could be a surprise package here at the Olympics as well. So I'm going to go with a 1-0 win for them. Argentina look very, very poor against Australia as well. So let's take a look at, speaking of Australia, they take on Spain next, of course. Australia with that opening day 2-0 win over Argentina, match number 1. As for Spain, with all the players from Euro 2020, all the young guns, all the plethora of talent they have, they can only muster a 0-0 draw against Egypt. Of course, there's a lot of concern about Pedri playing, nearly 70 games this season, the age of 18 years old, absolutely incredible. But of course, the bookies odds on this one, let's have a look at it. Then shall we? Australia 10-1 for the victory, 10-7-2 on Asia. Spain 17-4 is the draw. Spain, despite that defeat, are 5-2, still second favourites for the title. Australia coming at you with that win, 100-1 to go the distance. For me on this one, I'm going to go with I think I'm going to go with Spain. Yes, I'm going to stick with it. You cannot look at that talent and say no, they can't do this. 3-1 win win for Spain to take it to the house. Into the final group now is Group D, and it will be Brazil up against, of course, Ivory Coast. Both of these two nations get themselves off to a winning start so far. Ivory Coast did beat Saudi Arabia 2-1 win. Goals from Al Arami, big for OG Kessie as well, getting the goal. As Brazil, 4-2 demolition of Germany with a hat-trick from Rick Carlson in the first half. Within 30 minutes, in fact, the goals are separated by 23 minutes, of course. 7 minutes was the first, 22nd there was a third, second and 30th was the third. Germany did fight back with a couple of goals in the second half before Paulinho wrapped it all up to make it 4-2 in the end. What do we got on the odds on this one then, shall we? Got Brazil 4-1 on for the victory. 92 is your draw, and 10-1 is your long shots. That is, of course, Ivory Coast. Quick look at the odds then, shall we? 2-1 is your Brazil for the title. Ivory Coast coming at you at 40-1 as well for the points. Oh, sorry, to go all the way for the gold. For me, though, going to go with Brazil on this one. 2-0. We're taking to the house, and again secure. I think a win in the second game will put them through to the knockout stages. Of course, that'll set them up with Saudi Arabia last, so they might see a mixed squad in the final game. And then finally, wrapping it all up, it'll be Germany taking on, of course, Saudi Arabia. That's right, of course, Germany and Saudi Arabia both getting off to a bit of a stinker. Germany did get a couple of goals though against Brazil, as Saudi Arabia getting 1 goal against Ivory Coast. Outdoes Wisely with a big fat goal for them as well. But of course, it must-win scenario for both of these two sides. Bookies odds on this one: 9-1 is your Saudi Arabia, 10-3 on is your Germany, and 92 is the draw. Germany coming at 7th favourites for the bling, 14-1. Saudi Arabia absolute long shots at 500-1 on this one. For me, going to go with the Germans on this one. 2-0 win, bounce back ability, and maybe, just maybe, get themselves in the mix to go into the knockout stages. That's my thoughts. Of course, be sure to get your own picks, of course, in there. Also, to do that, go to the old website right here, Cutley/Tokyo 2A. And of course, if you want to do the old savvy way, the QR code is right there in front of you. So make sure you use that as well. But that's it, my friends. Be sure to give the video some love, smash your thumbs up, smash your subscribe. Check those down below on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and of course Patreon as well. Make sure you check out the channel, of course, full of football stuff throughout the year. Not just international stuff. We're going to kick off with a domestic game very soon. But until then, give the video some love and smash your thumbs up. Who do you think's going to go all the way for the gold medal? Let me know in the chat. But until then, I'll see you soon for the next one. Until then, we are done.